Well, welcome. I have a question to start off for everyone on stage right now. Do you get that everywhere you go at this point? Or just everywhere in San Diego? Peter, how are you?
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm very good, thank you, Stephen. Thank you very much for coming.
Well, on behalf of myself and everyone here and all the fans around the world over the last, how many years now since the first movie came out? 13?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Something like that, yeah.
Thank you very much for making these
Thank you.
movies.
You're very welcome, thank you. I do have to send apologies from Martin and Ian and Richard, who would all love to be here, but Martin and Richard are on stage in London and unable to get away. And Ian's shooting a movie. That's right. Yes, that's what's happening, isn't it? Yes. But they do send their love, and I'm sure you'll see them again sometime on some other project.
So Peter, are you done with the last movie yet?
No, we're still working. We're still, I mean, the creation of the movie never really stops, and so what we're doing at the moment, I mean, it's editing, but it's a lot more than editing because we've got battle sequences to do and a lot of other, rather intricate things, and so we're doing motion capture for that, or we're doing animation, in the case of some of the big creatures, and so I'm supervising that. Then that goes on to the motion capture stage. Then I go on with a virtual camera and I film it, which I absolutely love doing. So I'm still shooting the movie in essence. They haven't stopped me filming it yet.
Well, if you're looking to shoot a big battle, I think we have 6,000 extras who might be able to.
I know, they would be good too, wouldn't they? They'd know what to do.
Well, let me ask you something about how the movies are made. As you said, you're doing a lot of this motion capture and going into the digital environment with the camera to capture things. The people who've worked together on stage, is this the first time some of you have met here at Comic-Con, even though you've done the movie together?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Have any of you ever been in scenes together and never met before? Yes?
We worked together, and I didn't meet Kate until well after I'd finished working with her.
Really?
It used to be my run of things.
It was great.
Wow. Did either of you complain that the other person was stealing focus?
Yeah, she took ages to come out of her trailer, and
You had that big long.
I kept eating all the snacks, and I was in a way all the time. Yeah, it's kind of amazing.
Peter, when you started back in 1995 when you first started about doing these movies?
Yeah, 95 or 96, I think, sometime like that.
So by the time this film is released, once it's released, and it'll still be running in 2015, you will have spent 20 years thinking about this world. Did you imagine that this was going to take a generation of your life? And is that a happy thing for me to say?
Well, it's a commitment, isn't it, really? It's a commitment. But no, and it's a commitment I have really enjoyed taking. It's been you never know what's going to happen next. I mean, the very first thing that we ever pitched to Miramax back in '95 was to make The Hobbit as a single movie, and if that was successful, we'd do 2 Lord of the Rings movies. That was the pitch. That was what we, but sort of things went a bit differently, didn't they? But
yes. It was originally pitched to be 2 movies.
Yeah, well, The Hobbit was going to be, we were going to shoot The Hobbit first as one movie, and then if that was successful, we would do Lord of the Rings back-to-back 2 movies, and that was the pitch to Miramax. That was the original. And so that was, everything just changes, it's organic. So it's not, it would be really boring if it was 20 years where you had it all laid out and you knew exactly what was going to happen and you were just ticking the boxes, but it's certainly, it's an adventure. Every step of it's an adventure.
I do want to complain to you again, as I have before, that since The Hobbit, which was 1 book, became 3 movies, technically you owe us 6 more movies for the trilogy.
Sure, if Warners could find a way to do that, they would certainly be very happy.
Elijah?
Yes, sir.
Hello. Why don't
you're here doing this? This is amazing.
It is. It
No,
is.
I realized that.
Why don't you age? And Peter, did you know you were casting the immortal?
Well, maybe I have a painting in my attic that's aging for me.
It kind of goes, the same thing also goes for the elves. I mean, Orlando I don't know what creams they're putting down on you, but darling, I want some.
That's a good idea. We should come out with one, shouldn't we? An elven face cream.
I do have, as a fan, I do have a question for the elves, people who played elves in the movie. So, since elves are immortal,
You can call us elves. We like it.
you like being elves?
Distinguish between people who played elves and people who are elves.
You might be an elf. Elves, do you have to think differently, or are you thinking as a human? Do you have to put yourself in the mind of an immortal when you do this? Do you have pity on the rest of your cast members when you're a character?
I was typecast.
Yes.
They're incredibly generous. I was just grateful to get a job in this one. I thought my time was over in Middle Earth.
Yeah, you and me both.
Are elves generous, do you mean? Or have Peter been generous to bring you back? What do you mean?
A bit of both.
Okay.
No, but I do think Galadriel was incredibly generous. It was a big stretch for me.
Just to get you out of this rain.
Now, Peter, can we talk about the tone of the movies? When the trilogy of The Hobbit was announced, my understanding is that the tone of the movies was sort of progressed toward the tone of Lord of the Rings movies and sort of match up when you watch them all together. How would you say the tone has changed from the first movie, from An Unexpected Journey, to Desolation of Smaug? How's that extended in this movie?
Well, I think it's extended the way that you would imagine it would extend seeing the first two. It's a progression, and it's certainly, I guess that everybody in this room knows what's going to happen at the end of The Hobbit, never mind. You know, there's a lot of sadness and tragedy, and you know, which is good. It's always great when you can kill off some main characters. I tell you what, as a filmmaker, I think, God, like when you can finally kill somebody, because it gives you a chance to do something, you know, hopefully that's powerful and emotional, and otherwise you're a little bit. I mean, it's so anyway. We do get to kill a few of them this time around, so it's good, and I think you'll feel it getting quite. Yeah, well, I mean, dark isn't the word. I mean, these are fun movies. Fun, you know. Even, the Rings movies were fun. I don't think they're just, you know. But yes, it's not as comical as the first Hobbit movie for sure, and they're progressively getting towards the tone of the Fellowship of the Ring. Do you know that Elijah was 18 years old when the Fellowship, by the way? We're just trying to work it out.
And he's still 18 years old. Bilbo, as one of the screenwriters, when having the luxury of telling the story over 3 movies instead of 1, do you wish you'd had been able to include more things in the first 2 movies? I mean, in the first 3 movies? If you had this sort of pace of storytelling you have in The Hobbit as opposed to Lord of the Rings, are there things that you guys wish you could have put in the first 3 movies that you had to take out just for time?
Yeah, you mean in Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, sure. I think of them as just a continuation. Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course, the Old Forest, definitely, and Tom.
Did you think about Tom Bombadil at all? Did you consider about it?
We did. Pete had some very funny ideas, including seeing his hat while they were on the road. Do you remember that? We actually wrote that into the script. No, that will have to be for another generation of filmmakers, I suspect.
Did you have anyone in mind for the cast? For Bombadil?
No, but can I tell you that we did do a wish list, I remember, and it's sitting in the box somewhere because Pete keeps everything. And on that wish list was a young Australian actress for Galadriel called Kate Blanchett. That was our absolute number one.
On young.
No, this is true. And then.
Well, I had Kate in a wish list in a box somewhere.
No, for Galadriel. No, that was our first list of possible people for casting.
I see. Right.
Well, Benedict, you're playing the ultimate heavy. So
Sorry?
You're playing the ultimate heavies in this movie. You're playing Sauron and you're playing the dragon.
Yeah.
How would you characterize the difference between these two bad guys?
One's a dragon.
Someone have a pen. I'd like to write that down.
Take this down. You need to know this. One's a dragon and one's an all-seeing, non-corporal entity of evil.
Yes.
Did I go over there? No one screamed, rubbish! No, one's real, one's made of something that's vulnerable, and one seems to be born out of everything that's evil and difficult to pin down and actually kill.
Is there any benefit to doing the motion capture that you hadn't experienced before? As an actor, is there something that motion capture gives you?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You don't get
You're
standard
completely
makeup.
free to just make a complete fool of yourself and lose yourself in your imagination, and you don't have to hit. It's much harder what these guys did with green screen, acting opposite ping pong balls and marks of tape, and pretending that's your reality in the whole costume with continuity, taking into account camera moves. I was just throwing myself around a carpeted floor like a lunatic.
And Andy, did you have any advice for him? Did you have any advice for Benedict on how to do motion capture?
Just to make sure you don't get carpet burns, really.
Yeah, put the Velcro in the right place.
Exactly, yeah. Benedict, thank you. They love you, really.
Graham, as Dwalin.
Yes.
As Dwalin. Do you think that the dwarves get enough credit in this movie for being heroes? Because they're not the most obviously sexy creatures.
Well, obviously, to the female dwarves, we're very, very sexy.
Are there female dwarves?
There are. I've often thought that the entire journey is seeking a female dwarf. And boy, it takes us a long time. But no, it's nice to be the only representative of my race here today. I feel a little outnumbered by my elven compatriots, but yeah, no, it's been an extraordinary experience being a dwarf when you're 6'3". So that alone was 2.5 years I'll never forget.
Luke? Can you actually shoot a bow? Did you know how to do that before you took the job?
Yes. Yeah.
Where'd you learn? Were you a Boy Scout?
No, I did it in Butlins. No one know what that is. It's a very working class holiday resort, and I went with my family as kids, and that's what we used to do. We used to archery. But no, I mean when I got to New Zealand, I really did it properly there, and used a very, very big bow that was much bigger than me, and arrows that were very, very large. And yeah, I could probably do it. We did have actually do a day. It's a shame because I think Aidan Turner remembers the day when we were all shooting, because the dwarves used to shoot from the hip and I used to shoot from the face and whatever. And we had to aim at these little action men that they put on the wall, and I did it. I got it. I beat them.
Kate, as an elf, we haven't had a chance to see you fight. That's one of the things that the elves do better than anyone else. They're the ninjas of Middle-earth. Are we going to be able to see you fight this time? Do you have a weapon?
Well, I actually, in the high school production of The Hobbit, which you did, I actually played the bard. So I was sort of prepared for a bit of fighting. But as an elf, you have to wear, because you're very tall, I'm relatively tall, but not that tall, I had to wear these sort of hugely high sort of disco glam boots, which were... So it's a little bit tricky to even walk.
So underneath that gown, you've got disco heels on.
You've
got disco heels on under the gown.
Not by, just for height.
We do get to see Galadriel losing it a little bit in this next movie. It's good.
It's a bit judgmental, yeah. I lose my shit, is that what you're about to say? Elven shit.
I'm sure it sparkles.
She does. She gets to kick Sauron's ass a little in this next film, so.
Philippa, have you recovered from me smoking you in the Tolkien trivia contest in the August of 2010? Have you stopped therapy from me crushing you
No, but it was very touching because your very beautiful wife came up afterwards and said, "I think this is the greatest night of his life."
Peter challenged me to a trivia contest with Philippa, and I won, and it was. And as I said to you, you don't understand. I'm an athlete who's been training his entire life for a race he never knew was coming.
I think it might have been a little closer than you remember, though.
We could remount the challenge for charity.
Do you remember what you won on? What was the winning answer? Do you remember?
No, but I do remember when Stephen Fry said, "Oh, you've really got the crowd on your side." It's when you asked me who Goldberry was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you actually asked me what Goldberry was, not who Goldberry was.
Oh, did I? I think I did.
Yeah, so you were just trying to trip me up with the old River Daughter answer.
You know what was really funny? Because it was me and Stephen, and we were asking each other questions. So I think nobody else in the room knew whether we were getting them right or wrong.
Well, that was in the final round. It was
Yeah.
Stephen Fry and I designed questions for the two of you to start with, and then you guys ended up just, when it all got a little bit crazy at the end, you guys just started firing really hard ones at each other. And none of us really knew, yeah, that's right.
Well, the clincher for me was when you asked me Goldberry and I put my head down on the table and everyone thought I didn't know what the answer was. But I was just trying to think of the first line of the poem. And so I raised my head and said, "Oh, slender as a willow wand, oh, clearer than clear water. Fair river daughter, oh, springtime and summertime and spring again after. Oh, wind on the waterfall and the leaves' laughter." I think probably.
Normally winners are very modest, aren't they?
I'll never have this opportunity again. Now, I've noticed that there is a difference in class in Elfendom. And Orlando, your father does not want you to date down. Perhaps the two of you could address this. Is there a social message in this movie?
Yes, I'm a low-class elf. Is that what you want me to say?
You are.
You want me to admit it to the
You're
world?
a trash elf.
Low-class, trashy elf. But my shit still sparkles.
Was that on your resume? Is that how you got the gig?
That was on their wish list. We've heard Evangeline Lily's shit sparkles. We like her as an elf.
Well, Peter, I think based on the time, I think maybe we've. Where are we?
We're okay. We can do.
We're okay. All right.
5 minutes or 10 minutes of questions.
All right.
Have you run out of questions?
Any of the actors here, I'd like to ask about your experience in New Zealand. You know, Lee, for instance, have you been to New Zealand before?
I've never been before, but I absolutely made the most of it. I love being outside and hiking and stuff, and you can't find a better place for that than New Zealand. Like, awesome hikes. Really, really fun.
I had a feeling when we went down there again. Peter invited us down very kindly. My wife and my two boys and I were extras, and we spent 2 weeks down there. I had a strong feeling that I should never leave New Zealand. You know, it was really like, this is where I will be a man. You know what I mean? It calls to you. It says, are you as raw as this mountain is? Could you carve out a life plus no bears?
That's right. That's nice.
Does anybody have any particular? Anybody do any adventure travel down there? Because there are a lot of ways to kill yourself not being killed by an animal in New Zealand. Did anybody take advantage of any of this sort of adventure?
I went heli. I can say this now because I'm out of contract. But I did go up a glacier while I was down there.
And you didn't tell anyone?
They helicoptered us up to the middle of the Fox Glacier and then left us there for a few hours.
Brilliant.
And we went through ice caves. Yeah. And then me and Aidan jumped out of an aeroplane as well.
It's the sort of country you can do a lot of that jumping. I jumped out of things, jumped off things. Anything I could get thrown out of or off, I would pretty much do.
Orlando, did you move down there for any period of time?
Like 3 years.
After the movie was over, I understood that you stayed for a while.
I've sort of come and gone a bit, but it's funny actually because there was an email exchange between me and Dawn and Elijah just 2 days ago talking about getting residency in New Zealand. Like we really started applying for residency, didn't we? We initially thought, yeah.
Yeah.
All he throws himself off anything, and with a bungee on, it's unbelievable.
Did any of you come to the stories of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit for the first time through the films? And did it make you then go back to the books, or did you say, to hell with it, I'm never going to read them? Elijah, did you go back and read the books?
I actually haven't. Truth be told, I still haven't read the books.
Oh, we're never.
I know what I'm getting you for Christmas.
Listen, I've said this before.
Get out of here.
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Elijah, do you know how to read?
I do.
Because you've been in show business since you were a child.
I read The Hobbit when I was a child, and it was a big book for me. And I had The Lord of the Rings on my shelf, and it was one of those things that was very daunting, and it was kind of always there, and I thought, I'll get to that one day. And then these movies came about, and I felt like I was living it and experienced it in such a profoundly deep way that I never really consulted the books. I imagine it's something that I will go back to, but I don't know. It was such an experience over the course of such a long period of time.
I loved reading Lord of the Rings so much when I was young that when I got about 25 pages to the end of Return of the King, I took my book and I reverently closed it and I said, I will never read those pages because this story must go on.
Oh.
And I have never read those pages.
Really? Wow, that's beautiful.
Ever.
Oh, Evangeline is a serious geek, a serious Tolkien geek.
No, I love Tolkien, but I don't know squat. Like, I can't remember the names, the places, so I fail every Tolkien geek test, don't try. But I love him.
Oh, he's so disappointed. No, he's ready to talk.
I'm not disappointed at all. Actually, you've never been more attractive. What do you think of my hair? Should I keep this? Really fantastic. Andy,
hello.
tell me about the work. Tell us all about the work you're doing in London now with your company.
Well, look, I mean, it's been an extraordinary 15 years. When Peter asked me to come, when I met Peter and Fran in London back in 1999, I think it was, and the idea of playing this creature Gollum came up, and there wasn't like an exact method of how it was going to be done, but basically Peter wanted an actor to come on set and be there and play the character and not have Elijah and Sean have to imagine someone. It basically changed the course of my life with such magnitude. Of course, you know, not only was it about finding a way of bringing that character to the screen, but also creating a methodology of work, which again, you know, then went on. I mean, actually, I have to say, the epiphany for me of kind of where I'm at today came immediately in the last weeks of doing Return of the King, because on my birthday, it was the 20th of April, and I think it was 2003, the last pickups for Return of the King, and it was my birthday, and Peter asked me on that day, it was literally right at the end of the pickups to play King Kong, and I suddenly realised I thought my life was going to go back to normality, to play normal characters in normal films, in a normal traditional way, and then the idea, it sort of hit me up and like, hold on a minute, I've just made this 3.5-foot ring junkie, and now I'm going to play a 25-foot gorilla. Wow. This means typecasting is no more. You know? This means you can do anything. You can put on one pair of spandex suits and go and enjoy yourself on the carpet and play any manner of things. And that kind of fascination and enjoyment really has continued over the years, and most of which has been, again, involved with Peter and learning with Weta, who are the most fantastic, amazing bunch of people to work with. And you know, it's a sort of knowledge base and a skill set, and which I love and adore, and I do think philosophically as an actor it does break down so many barriers. You can play anything, whatever you are, it doesn't matter. You can play anything. And Weta, they're incredible, and the work that they've continued to do in their facial pipeline, and you know, coming back to play Gollum the second time and seeing how that all moved on and how the performances are really beautifully rendered now and very truthful to what happens on the set between the director and so on. It's been a fantastic, amazing, unbelievable journey, of which, of course, I never had any. I couldn't foresee coming at all, and it's ended up with being in a position where very, very luckily now
trying to bring it to the Northern Hemisphere, because I realise it doesn't actually exist in the Northern Hemisphere, it's particularly in Europe. So we have a place called the Imaginarium, which is sort of, I see as a sort of, Northern Hemisphere touch base for anyone who's happening to be doing OAE from New Zealand who wants to drop by and work there. So it's a great time, really enjoying it, and it's very much down to Peter and Fran and Philippa and all the incredible experience that they've had. Well, thank you.
You touched on something that I think is really interesting. You said you might be going back to normal films after doing this, but I think certainly after the first 3 films, what it meant to make a normal film had changed, and the work that you did actually sort of as the Lon Chaney of the digital world is to change what could be done on screen, and for Peter and his team to change for one thing, what spectacle means in a movie. Certainly after the Battle of Palanir Fields in the 3rd movie, I said immediately after the battle's over, nothing can ever be called spectacle again without first being compared to this event. And so, how do you see the change that's happened in film? Like every battle of two people clashing, like close shots of people clashing in a battle on screen these days, looks something like it's an echo of that Dagorlag battle at the beginning of the prologue for the first Fellowship of the Ring. Everything's got that rush and that clash feeling that just didn't exist before. Do you see your work being echoed?
I did a little bit, yeah. I did recognise some about the sort of style of some films that came through in the years following. But I mean, that's amazing. I mean, as a filmmaker, there's no better compliment than to feel that you've influenced the way in which other filmmakers, the tools that they can use and the way that they might want to shoot their movies. So it's I'm in the middle of doing a battle right now, actually. Big battle of the 5 armies.
Thanks for watching. To find out more Movie Guide content, you can subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter to hear more about Hollywood Buzz and know before you go.